Hello, Andrew. I just thought I would take some time, as promised, to review your resume and to provide you with some tips, strategies, and some next steps to hopefully help you get a new role that you're looking for. Just to reiterate, we spoke a couple of weeks ago, and you mentioned that you're looking to transition into office-based work for more work-life balance. You sent over your resume to us, which is great. I'm just gonna give you like a general couple of tips that I have that I think could significantly improve the current resume that you do have. To get started, I do want to say that it seems like your resume is really good in terms of like the amount of work that you've done over your career is impressive. And I read this through in depth and I was thinking, okay, you've got a lot of transferable skills that can be used if we tailor this in a particular way. Yeah, to start with, I'd like to go over the experience section because that's more or less the meat of what we'll be covering anyway. So, you've done a couple roles, many roles, of course, in the entertainment industry and whatnot. Live taped events, theatrical stage management, and operations merchandising and sales. Now, the one thing that I would say is that if you're looking to get into an office role, it might be important for you to decide what type of office-based work you would like to be involved in. Now, of course, every business is different, but if you're looking to work in marketing, which to be honest, it does seem like either working in marketing or operations or events management seems to be the from what I can tell, judging by some of the bullet points you do have here, a lot of this stuff actually does translate well over into marketing, especially events management and potentially for you to become like an events marketing manager as well. I can definitely see some avenues there. So one of the things that I would do here is I would the type of role that you put operations, merchandising, and sales. What I'm curious for you to do is to like specify what the actual job was, like the job title, and then in brackets you should kind of like mention what the role that you're looking to get into will be based on that experience. So, for example, I'm going to use myself as an example. I'm going to just head over to my LinkedIn profile and just show you. So, before I started this company, I worked at an organization called Oyster. It's a global employment platform. I was head of product marketing there. And then I started a new team and I was able to name the team myself. So I called it Strategic Products and Go-to-Market. That was the name of our team whilst we were there. But the essence of the work that I was doing there was actually product marketing. And so as you can see here, I've put in brackets product marketing. And the reason why I've done that is that if I, for some reason, go to apply for a role future, it's the easiest way for me to communicate to recruiters and employers that this role was a product marketing role because by just mentioning strategic projects and GTM or go to market, many employees won't actually understand what that is because not many businesses have a strategic projects function in their organization. Whereas at Oyster, we did for the first time, but it was essentially a product marketing position. And so in your case, I almost see it in a similar way where, you know, these four bullet points here really does tell me that you focused a lot on sales and operations. So you could almost call this sales operations in a way, you know? And again, it's like, yeah, you've done this for about 6 years or so, which is impressive. There's definitely a route into digital sales work here, even with customer support, again, on the digital side for like an e-commerce brand potentially, and just giving you an idea to see exactly how this is translating. And so yeah, things like that. I can see there's a lot of increases around like customer satisfaction. So potentially even naming it something like customer success is what we typically see, especially in tech. We typically see roles like customer success manager, and they would definitely be interested in candidates like yourself who can show that you've been able to improve the satisfaction of their customers, which is definitely good. So definitely sales work here. I'm seeing customer support work here as well. Okay, so that's interesting because some tech companies do sponsor trade shows, and so I am getting events marketing here is what's coming to mind. I'm getting a combination of events marketing, digital inbound sales, and customer success manager. That's kind of exactly what this role, all the work you've done here kind of translates that into me. Plus events marketing as well. So just to take a look at the job board and just see if we've got anything on there or speak to customer success. I was able to put a lot of stuff on that front that you potentially could be a good fit for. So I would definitely check out my old employer. Yeah, I will definitely check out all of these different roles and see which ones they're best to you, and then get back in touch with me as well. I can help you at least craft an application that will be strong enough to at least get seen by some of these employers. If you are looking at applying to Oyster directly, then yeah, tell me that. And of course, I've got contacts in this organization, so I can vouch for you and get you on board there. The salary on offer, as with most of the roles here, these are like just based on the company's stage. It's revenue stage at the minute, it's growth stage, what industry they're in, and how senior the role is. But usually we've found that the salaries offered here are actually much higher. That the employer is actually willing to pay much more than what is listed here. So, you can have that conversation with them if you get around to it. Heading back to your resume, I would definitely put in brackets here the role that you're looking to go into, or the role where that sums up the work that you did, more so than what your job title was. So, like I said before, you should potentially be looking into sales operations, or being like an inbound SDR or an inbound account executive in sales. There are lots of success managers. So you could put in brackets customer success, because I can definitely see that here. And you could also put in here, you could also be responsible for some of the e-commerce marketing stuff too, for lots of things here. But I would definitely say something like customer success, sales operations, look into potentially calling this, an inbound account executive is another role that comes to mind for this too. And events marketing. So I would say do some research on that, and then if, let's say, events marketing is what feels best to you, it's just judging for your resume in general, it does seem like events marketing is ideal, then you should probably put in brackets events marketing. So that's the first thing that comes to mind. Second thing is your summary section. Whilst I think your summary section is good, it is, when a recruiter is looking at this, they are just seeing statements, right? And I think what they're really looking for is for you to specify what you're looking to get into next. What is the next kind of role that you're looking at moving into, and what you're exceptional at. For now, I know that you have mentioned your passions and some of the things that you have done, but I think it would also be great for you to include your best career highlights as well. So what I would almost do is I would almost split your professional summary section into two columns, where one column you would have like just a general sense of who you are, so basically a condensed version of this, and then on the right side you would then have like a bulleted list of some of your best career highlights, so some of the best things that you've done and achieved in your career. It could even be reiterating some of the stuff that you've done here, but just making it shorter and snappier up top. And to be honest, it's fine to repeat information in your resume, because employers are only going to spend a short amount of time reading your resume anyways. So having that information front and center at the top, because people do typically read it in an F shape, so it's top left to top right, and so as the flow of your resume needs to be more like an F shape, which just makes it easier for readability. Split the professional summary into two halves, and so on one half, again, just to explain, you would kind of condense this down. Still try and see if you can maintain it in 4 or 5 lines whilst it's being halved. And then on the other side, put like a bulleted list of like your career highlights, and try to use numbers where possible on that front. I think your header section is good because you've included your LinkedIn, you've linked to your LinkedIn, you've got your email, you've got your location as well, which is great. I'm curious what the term management is referring to. Is this a case of you wanting to get into people management and to manage a team? Or is it more so related? Is this more a case to do with like the type of work that you have done? In my opinion, I think that this is perfect opportunity. This white space here is a perfect opportunity for you to put down the type of role that you want, especially if you know exactly what kind of role is. So, for example, with me as a product marketer, if I am applying to a director of product marketing position, I would put in the title director of product marketing. And so I would suggest that you would do the same for you based on the role that you're looking for. So if you were going to get into events management, then you should call yourself like events marketing or events marketing manager, something like that. I'm not sure if we've got any like events roles on here. Okay, so we do have one. So we've got two roles. We've got two events marketing roles on our job board today. So these are like two really good roles that you should probably consider applying to. And whilst I could say that yes, this role is definitely more senior than this one, it might still be worth just applying to both just in case you don't get this one. If you don't get the events marketing manager role, you could get the B2B event specialist role instead. So that's that. So, okay. Key skills. Okay, this is an interesting one. I have a controversial opinion on key skills. I personally feel that key skills aren't as useful as they used to be, other than just for keyword matching. And so what you need to do is you have to think about what kind of keywords do you think a employer is searching for a particular role, and you'd want to include those here. So the issue that I see with your key skills right now is too many of them are too generic, or rather too many of them are key skills that a lot of people have, and that they just list on their resume because that's just what we're told to do. So for example, we have communication, customer services, detail oriented, organization, data entry, and multitasking. So I would consider those key skills as just like the generic ones we just include. But if you're going for, let's say, an events marketing manager role, these aren't necessarily going to be skills that that the employer or the hiring manager would consider important. These key skills that they would consider important, they would typically already have listed them on the job description itself. So I would again, if I were you, I would open up one of these roles. In fact, it might be a good idea for me to sign in and show you an example of this. So now I've signed in event specialist. Right. So this, but I mean, I also didn't ask about your location. Sorry about that. Yes, you're based in New York, so I'm not sure if you're eligible. This is Europe, Middle East, and Africa, it seems. Okay, so this role probably isn't ideal for you, but then based on the location factor. That being said, it's still a role where you could at least at least review and take out the experience from that job description and use that to improve your resume. So in this B2B event specialist, if we're looking for some of like what the key skills are, you'll typically see that in the day-to-day section and in the what they're looking for in you section as well. So for example, they're looking for something like maintain a list of events that you should participate in based on primary research. So you could call it something like events research as a skill, and then add that here instead. So like I can see here, it's not meant, you've got events management, but I think like events research could be a decent skill to include. Yeah. Key performance indexes to measure individual event effectiveness and to justify spend. So you would probably have something along the lines of like event ROI, or something to do with like budget management with regards to it. So something related to managing money needs to be in here as well. And then you'll basically do the same thing for like 2 or 3 jobs, where you pull out the skills from existing roles that are currently going and add them in here. That's one half of the challenge. The other half of the challenge for the key skills section is going to be for you to show proof that you actually have those skills. Because it's very easy for someone to just put a list of skills in here, apply for a job, and then expect to get a callback. When usually the employer to also see proof that you do have that experience. And there's 2 ways of doing this. One is you could include it in the key skills section, again, splitting it into half by providing, put the list of skills on one side, and then on the right side, you could create like a box and then highlight some of the experiences you've had that showcases that you have that you actually do have that skill set. I think would be ideal. So I'm not sure if search works here, but if I was to search a resume for events, I can see that you do have events. Events has been mentioned twice in your resume. One is in the role here, and one is in this bullet point as well. So you talked about how you proactively mobilize resources at the completion of live events to ensure adherence to safe business practices. This is potentially one of the bullet points that you could use, and you could feel free to repeat inside of the key skills section for, let's say, events management or for events research or something. And just make sure that you just write in your own words and whatnot and do that. I think that could be really, really helpful for sure. And so once you've done that, then you should have a list of skills that not only are they just listed here, but they're also backed up with like evidence that you can actually do those things. So that's that. I'm just seeing if there's anything on the experience section in particular that is missing. I'm just going to quickly check. Yeah, I think the only thing that I would advise with the experience section is to reverse how you're writing the bullet points. I think your bullet points are great, and they do showcase your experience and how good you are at your role and the impact that you've had at the organizations that you've been a part of. But typically when recruiters and hiring managers are looking at resumes, they tend to focus more on the headline items, and they then ignore all the other stuff. So for example, you speak here about how you managed seamless flow of revenue totaling $50,000. I think this is actually one that you have done well, because you've mentioned the result first, and then you explained what was the project that generated that. Whereas these ones, the other way around. So with these ones, we have the resulting in 95% accuracy rate overall. Whereas what you could do is you could reverse it and start your bullet points by focusing on the 95% accuracy rate overall, and then say what project was it that you did that led to that 95%. Again, here, you could say you've increased customer satisfaction by 20% by cultivating stronger personal relations, etc. So lead with the headline and then put the rest of the text following it. So just kind of reverse the way that your bullet points are set up. Typically, when it comes to resume writing, this is also a service that we do offer. Let me know if you're interested in this. But we try to rewrite resumes, and my advice to you as well is to rewrite your resume as if it is almost like a newspaper article, and so therefore you always want to lead with the headline. You always want to lead with the thing that's going to make the person who's reading it to stop and to pay attention to it. So those are the things that I would definitely recommend. I do think the layout is fine overall, but I like the fact that you've got it down on one page as well. I think that's pretty good. If it spills over to 2 pages, that's also completely fine. The only thing that I could probably add here is that you could do like 2-columned resumes in general. Is you could potentially try taking a look and seeing what it looks like if you was to have your resume split into 2 sections. So I'm just going to quickly show you my resume, and how it's an example of a really old resume that I've had, and how that's been split into 2 sections in the experience section. And I'm curious to know what you think of this. So this one is mine. So as you can see, what I've done is I've got my experience section and the different mods within, and I've kind of put them on the left and the right side, because there's just a lot of experience that I've had over the last God knows how many years. But it makes it easy for the to just focus on like one particular section of what we did. And they can just focus on one particular section of what I did, or one particular employer that I worked on, and then they can just read that section, use that to ultimately make a decision on my experience. That being said, though, I do think that the use of color in yours is definitely an advantage over mine right now. But I just seem to have had like a lot of kind of benefits from splitting the resume down into 2 sections. And as you can see, the skill section down here as well. So I've kind of thought about some of the things that I did that have led to the success as well. Though of course this could also be improved too, with some of those suggestions that I've just listed to you. So there's that. Part of the resume review that we do is sometimes what we also do is we also give you like examples of resumes from either people on our team or from the community itself that we are distributed. So there are a group of people who have actually managed to get the roles that you're probably looking for, and who has worked at some of the companies distributed. They've also kindly offered to show their resumes as well, so that we can see, and so you can see and compare your resume with theirs and make your decision from there on how to take things forward. Well, yeah, so those are like the key changes that I would probably make to your resume right now, if you could. And yeah, I like the fact you've got a technical proficiency section. And you've mentioned some of the different like software technologies that you use. Split. Yeah, I would probably say that it might be a good idea to split the technical proficiency section into two parts as well, where you list on one side the skills that but you have got down for a fact and you use them every day. You've been using them every day in your role, and then in this column, list down the skills that the technical proficiencies that you are working on or that you are seeking to learn. And again, the way to find that out, typically in some of these job descriptions, they might mention some of the software that they use. I mean, right now, I don't think this one necessarily does mention the software used, but in some roles, there is an expectation that you have to use. Well, there is an expectation that you should have some proficiency with their tools already. And if that is mentioned in some of these job descriptions, then I would definitely recommend that you include it, and you include, here are some technical skills I'm currently learning. So at least it's on your resume, so that you're not rejected for simply not having it, for it not being there, if you know what I mean. And I would definitely mention that and go for that. And yeah, we're coming up to 26 minutes, so I think that's just a thorough like overview looking at this for the first time in depth. And so if you can take all the changes, take all the suggestions that I've made, and feel free to create a new resume. If you're going after events marketing roles, then create an events marketing resume. If you're going after one that's based in sales, then create one for sales, and so do the same thing as well. Rather than having a generic that's more general for like any type of office-based work, I think it can be much more difficult to get through to the hiring manager and to get that first interview. So definitely do that. Let me know what you think. And if you're interested in like a thorough, for me to rewrite your resume entirely, then we're also more than happy to do that as well. I've done it before, like many times with other, we don't list it publicly because we're trying to determine what the right pricing is. And we haven't landed on somewhere on a fee that would be appropriate. But for now, I hope that at least the tips that I've given you for trying to get into that first role should help with this resume. So if you make those changes to that, feel free to send it over again. I'm happy to take another once over. Yeah, I really hope that you found some of this useful and helpful. If you have any questions, feel free to just reply to my email and I will get back to you as soon as I can. Have a nice day, Andrew, and I'll speak to you soon. Take care. Bye.